Okay, so on this episode, we're going to try to dial in our distributor a little bit. We got some timing tape on there now. We can track the degrees. So now we're going to mess with this. We're going to use this spring and weight kit, and we're going to try to change how fast it brings on the advance. This car has a very low compression ratio, like in 72, it dropped to, I believe, 7.9 to 1 compression. So when you have that low of compression, you can feed it a lot of advance. And that's exactly what we're going to try and do. Remember to always use your hood as your workbench. We're going to replace the springs for sure and the weights with that kit right there. Now, generally speaking, the lighter the springs, the faster the advance comes on. And like I said, with this engine, it's very low compression, so you can bring the advance on fairly quick, and you shouldn't get any type of detonation. I don't know whether or not to just sort of modify these ones or put these ones on. I think I'm going to go with these ones and go with the bushings, and I believe I'm going to go with the lightest springs. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I went with the lighter springs, and I took and I filed off a little bit of the inside where it makes in contact, where it comes in contact, not with the weight side, but this side. And as far as this distributor goes, there's no way to make the advance go further unless you open that slot up in there. So for now, we're going to try it this way. Again, this is just the factory points distributor, and this spring and weight kit, I believe, was maybe 13 or 14 bucks. I still have the heavier weights if I want to go back to them. These are a considerable bit lighter than these ones here, but we'll see. We got the medium spring on. The light springs, which is these ones here, these are quitters. They didn't hang on. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. It completely stretched this part right here. So, anywho, we're gonna put it back in the car and we're gonna see what happens. We've got the vacuum plugged off. We're going to leave it disconnected from the vacuum advance. We're going to try and get this thing started and see how close we are. I left the distributor a little bit loose in case we have to mess with it, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, so it's 11:30, and instead of creating an insane amount of neighbor hate, we're going to put the timing light on it tomorrow and try and get everything sort of fine-tuned. I'm going to order the different set of light springs that are completely closed on the loops, because the lightest springs, they were quitters. They'd have flew off like, you know, a kid with rubber bands on their braces. It'd have been terrible. So anywho, that's what we're going to do. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to fire it up. We're going to set the time. Okay, so it's morning. We've got our favorite cup of coffee, and I'm going to set the timing I warmed the car up. I got the vacuum gauge connected. I want to make sure that the carburetor's set pretty close, and I'm shooting for what would be about 15 degrees of total timing on the front side. And then crack the throttle a few times. I'm trying to get full advance by like $3,000, I think would probably be a good place to start. So check it out. I'm not really sure if the weights are going out all the way or coming back all the way. I have about 16 inches of vacuum, 17 inches of vacuum at idle. So that part of it looks good, but the total amount of advance I'm getting is maybe 18 degrees, 19 degrees with it, so that would put my total timing at a little less than 30. I was kind of shooting for 34, 35. Anywho, we're going to go out and test on it. Okay, so right off the bat, it did crank a little bit harder. Compared to where it was before, I put about 5 more degrees of initial timing on it, and we're gonna see how it goes. Like I said, I don't know that the spring and weights are working right, because the weights that are in it now are considerably lighter than the factory ones, so those may end up coming off, and I'll just take a Dremel and grind them to the right shape where it makes contact with that center bar. But for right now, we're going to test on her a little bit, and we're going to see what kind of pickup we got. That was 70. Went a little bit past $4,000 before it shifted, which is a first. It did feel like it was pulling a little bit harder, so I think we'll find out. I think we'll find out when we get to the drag strip. Okay, so we're letting it cool off a little bit. I don't think the springs and weights are working exactly right, because the new weights are lighter, and I only went to like a step down as far as tension on the springs. But we'll see. The time slips at the drag strip, they're not going to lie. So that's what we're shooting for next. And I'll take you guys with me, and I'll post the videos of the racing and the time slips, so you can see the progress that we're making. Until then, peace.